Today, we are going to be talking about one-shots. One-shots are manga that are written as one whole story that has no continuation. They are all self-contained stories that are usually made for contests, or if a writer has an idea that can't span out into a full-length series. Today, I found 3 different one-shot manga that all have a horror aspect to them, all of them in a different way. And now I'll be telling you about each one, and then I'm going to be ranking them at the end. So stay tuned. So, the first manga one-shot that I read was Welcome to Hellevator. Now, this story is not about the physical elevator in hell that they show you on the cover page, which should be on screen now, even though it is present throughout the short story. The actual premise of this one shot, is a guy escaping from his sentence to the bottom floor of hell and trying to get into heaven, while also running from his past at the same time. Along the way, the main girl, who is introduced as Levi, is trying to catch him while also giving him some much needed words of advice. I also want to point out that I love the design of this character, and I just love the eyes and the little details that the author gave her. Very solid story. Strongly recommend you read this one. Actually, I recommend you read all 3 of these before you even watch the rest of this video, even though I'm not going to delve into spoilers at all. Just give a brief synopsis. The next manga one-shot that I read was I Was Wrong. The story with this one is that a guy kills his crazy stalker girlfriend, and she winds up coming back as a ghost. But everything is not what it seems. I really enjoyed this one. The artwork is very clean, the story is concise, and doesn't leave anything open, which is a problem that many short stories suffer from. There are also a few twists in this story too, which I thought took it to the next level. Actually caught me off guard a little bit too. Also, I want to add that I love the look they gave to the 2 main characters in this. The main girl's name is Sarah, and her design has a very cute and innocent look at certain times, while also looking like a complete cracked out of her mind psychopath at other times. The main guy character's name, who I'm not going to even try to pronounce, looks terrified and at his wit's end at certain points in the story, and I honestly felt sorry for him at times. Once again, amazing story. I recommend you go read this before you continue watching. But if you made it this far and didn't, you don't care. So, on to the last one. The final one-shot that I read was Final Girl. This one was very interesting to say the least. The story follows our nameless main character who starts off reading a list of tips that can help a person survive a slasher horror movie. 2 pages later, and our main character has somehow fainted and has found themselves in a horror movie. So, it's kind of like isekai, but he doesn't even get hit by a truck. In this new world, they are now in the body of a slutty cheerleader named Summer. Yeah, it's weird. Anyways, the story revolves around the main character trying to survive being killed by the murderer by avoiding all of the horror tropes that usually plague these kinds of slasher movies that we all know and love. The story is the only one out of the 3 that has any sort of fan service in it. But since fan service is a horror trope in itself, it kind of makes sense in the story. We have a story about redeeming oneself, a love story with a twist, and a story about horror tropes in slasher films. If I had to rank these, I would put I Was Wrong at number 1. Easily the best story and best written story out of all 3 of them. Had me the most engaged, and I loved the twist at the end, and it really just tied it all together and made it a great story. After that, I'd say Welcome to Hellevator. It's a good story about how it's never too late to change, and I love the atmosphere and the character designs. The worst one of the 3 is definitely Final Girl. It's written more like a horror comedy. It's not really my cup of tea. Don't get me wrong, it's good, but I'd say probably like 6 out of 10 at best, if that. So those were 3 horror one-shots that I recommend you go read. My opinion doesn't mean much. It's up for you to decide what you think of these stories, and it probably takes around 5-10 minutes per story, per read. So about half hour to read all 3 of these. But besides that, if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, or else.